We have 4.
Can everybody announce their names, Hugh?
We do have a quorum, yeah, we have
4. That's all you need.
we have 4,
Okay.
and you're 5, yeah.
5.
Okay, hang on.
we're going to go
let's
around the
say
table and say our names.
I will. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence, and then we'll go around the table. Okay? Is there a flag in the room, Tim?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. And we'll say a moment of silence and prayer for our presidents who have passed. Okay, this is the Solid Waste Recycling Commission meeting, February 13th, 2022. Where are you anyway? What room are we in?
We are actually in the Sullivan Town Hall, second floor.
Okay, that's the Sullivan Town Hall.
There's still conflicts on the line about that, but that's where we are.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I'm Hugh Dolan, the chairman, and then you guys identify yourselves.
Joseph Pagnozzi.
John Cattell, Assistant Director of Public Works.
Kirsten Utah. Becky Bunnell, Member of Public, Sustainable Fairfield Task Force.
Misty Byer, SWRC.
Tim Besler, Secretary.
That's it, Hugh.
That's it.
Okay. Who am I missing? We have myself, Joe.
Andrew.
Is Kristen there?
We're missing Andrew and Mike.
Andrew and Mike are not here, but Hugh, Misty, Tim, Kirsten, and Joe are here.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right, so, Joe, you got that, right? Josephine?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so the agenda is the minutes, approval of minutes of the January 9th, 2023 meeting. Everybody got a copy?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, I think I was the one who suggested we start to set up that committee to set up the plan.
Yeah, but this is
what's the minute say?
I know we're talking about the minutes. It
Yeah.
said,
What's the minute say?
She said.
It said Kirsten.
Oh, you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So, Joe.
So it's Misty, not Kirsten, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kirsten seconded it.
So Misty, you're the one that, okay. So I'll just take Kirsten out. Okay, got it.
No problem.
That's at the end.
Any other comments? Any additions or deletions? Okay, we'll entertain a motion regarding the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I second. I make to accept the minutes.
Is that Joe?
Joe? Yeah, Joe. Okay, yep.
There's 2 Joes.
All those in favor?
Joe is okay.
Me, Joe. Joseph.
Any opposed?
Joe P.
Okay, the minutes are accepted unanimous. Old business review by the department director, ongoing improvements of the transfer station, and the status update of the departmental budget submission.
All right, so for some updates on the transfer station, this is John Cattell speaking. We've been pouring some concrete pads for where the new location of the cardboard container and the glass recycling container will sit on now. That's been done. They're up on top. We poured a pad for where the food recycling bins or food drop-off waste goes. And we also poured a pad for the textile clothing that drop off. So we've been doing some of that work up on top. We built a wall to give us a little more space on top so that most of your recycling is all right there on the right when you enter the transfer station. The stairs, it's been awarded to the one vendor, and they're in the process of assimilating their materials and proceeding forward. The overhead doors will be going out to bid here shortly. It's just in final review before going out to bid. And those are major improvements.
So just this is Kirsten asking a question on the stairs, because I know there was a bunch of disparities in the last bids, and I don't remember, which vendor did we end up going with? Because there was somebody who was like way under and left stuff.
We went with the one that was, low bidder.
The low bidder, but they had.
They met, we had.
What we needed.
We had a scope meeting with them, they had what they needed.
So that was all clarified in that meeting. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the overhead doors are going to bed?
Yes.
When? Within?
I hope to get it out on the street within the next 2 weeks.
So we'll know about it by the next one? Idea?
We'll have a walkthrough, it's gonna have a walkthrough on it, so I'm not sure when.
What's your estimate cost on that, roughly? I think you brought it up last time.
I threw a cost out there in the budget of, I think, $140,000.
Okay.
But, some estimates came in higher, an estimate off the
All right.
third bid came in higher.
Discuss it next time, I guess. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, John, what was the final quote for the stairs?
It was in 1908, I think it was.
Yeah, it's in
That's what you said last time, yeah.
Yeah, 19,800.
So, did you ever get a feeling as to why the great discrepancy in the pricing?
Well, I think, others, might be bigger companies. This company that's low bidder, as we discussed last time, it basically does everything in-house. They have good, I guess, supply of material. They do their own cutting and fabricating and installation.
Cool. Okay.
They've done several of these for the state and a few other places, so.
So you're comfortable.
Worked out fine, yeah.
So you're comfortable with the bid award?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are those concrete pads? Are they at the level of the asphalt? So
Yeah.
so if you move stuff around, we're not going to have to dig them up. They're not above the asphalt or anything.
Correct. This way,
Okay.
when you ever had to move them and plow and stuff like that.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So they won't. Okay. Good. Okay. All right.
And that work was done in-house with,
Yeah. I was just going to say that was by DPW.
done by DPW personnel.
Yeah, I was down there one day when they were pouring, yeah.
Can I ask you something? On the fabric, they have this thing about video surveillance,
Yes.
and I thought that was really effective, smart move. Because everybody's video surveillance, they're surveilling everything. And we talked about having something for recycles as well. I mean, is it possible to post anything?
That whole
When you first come in, it's there, right?
yeah, it's posted
right,
that, the whole
posted.
place is being videoed.
Yeah, it's all
And the
over.
whole place is, I got,
Where does it say it besides, I've only seen it on the waist, on the fabric.
I know it's on the building, I think, I think
Couple
it might be
places.
on the signs when you're at the booth.
When you come in, yeah.
It'd be great.
I think there's a warning sign as you go in.
So, the video is covering everything, so if something
I
really
got
bad
about,
happens, you can go back
I
and
got
find it.
probably about 9 cameras.
Oh, wow, okay.
Different-
So you do have cameras on the recycling as well as the glass,
Yes.
the
there's a
fabric,
camera that
the
points into
food
that.
scraps, great. That's good.
And you delete that, what, every month, once a month?
I think it's on it for at least 30 days.
30
I'm not
days,
sure
right.
Yeah.
the backup.
About right.
Okay.
I don't delete it, I think it just
Goes by itself, is it? Time, right.
times that.
Right, you don't have to.
It just rolls
Something
over.
happens and it's ignored for 30 days. That's pretty bad.
Okay. Anything else for John?
Anything else?
Commissioners? Commissioners?
Okay,
The budget, right?
but the
Yeah, we
budget,
talked about the budget.
I ended up sending some stuff to you. I guess you guys were asking what the expenses that were put in, is $4,933,405. And the revenue is $3,090,986. So those were 2 items that I think were asked at the last meeting, and I think I sent that out to Hugh to be, disseminated.
Yep.
So it's a 1.8 million difference,
Almost,
delta?
1.9 million almost difference of, and that's
What is
why-
that compared to prior years?
Well, it's higher. In the past.
It's a big spread. I mean, we've been holding the charges flat and expenses have been rising.
But the impact of the food waste and the glass should be making us go positive or helping us to go positive, right? Because
The
we're
glass
avoiding the tipping fees.
The glass avoids the tipping fees and hauling fees, so that's a savings completely right now. Food waste is probably a minor increase in expense.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, yes, I have some questions. Can we just talk about the contracts that we're redoing? I think I sent you some information. You could just address them.
What contract?
We'll start with the Oak Ridge contract that ends in June 2020.
24, yeah, that's 24.
Do we renew this contract for 1 year? Is it a 5-year contract? How does it work? And how do
Okay,
we
hang on. Let's go on the new business because we don't have that under old business.
Oh, okay.
Let's put that under new business. Okay, so we're finished with the old business. Okay, so John, are you prepared to talk about the contract?
Sure.
Okay.
So that's new business to you?
Yes.
Okay.
So Misty sent me an email today regarding a few questions regarding some of the contracts. First one is Oak Ridge. The contract ends this June. No,
24.
June 24.
24.
No, I think
That's what you have.
no, that's what she said. Hold on.
Enviro.
No, Oak Ridge ends this June of
20.
2023.
23, okay.
Right.
There was a clause in there that said if we were not keeping the exact same terms, that we had to notify them 180 days prior to that. The interlocal sent a letter to them saying that we are not keeping this current contract but we will be negotiating a future contract, whether it be for a year or 4 years. So that's in negotiation.
And that will be done with the entire interlocal?
That's the entire interlocal
Oh, with Oak Ridge?
with Oak Ridge.
Whether it be 1 year or 4 years?
Correct.
And reviewing their terms for hauling, okay.
Correct.
Um,
Next one is Wheelbrader. That contract ends in June of 2024.
That's the one.
Oh, that's the one,
24,
sorry.
Yeah.
They are not holding the exactly the same contract, so the interlocal is in negotiations with them for succeeding years. And may go out to bid if need be.
Oh, go out to bid?
Correct.
Probably next year, right?
Right, this is good till June 2024, so
We have time.
we have time. But there's a negotiating team for the interlocal that's working on this.
Do we have a representative on the negotiating team?
Yes,
Who is?
Who's that?
Marsilio and myself.
Okay, John, okay.
John Marsilio is the director.
Yep.
John Marsilio's had over 30 years' experience with this stuff. So he's well versed in it. And I've had about 30 years also. He probably has more.
Do you expect that the tipping fee for Oak Ridge in the new contract would be a lot more than 99?
Well, to give you an update on it just came in this new quarter that we're in, and I think it's 98.53. So it actually went down.
Oh,
50
Yeah.
cents or 60 cents, but
And how long is that for?
3 months,
It's quarterly, right?
Every quarter they put it out.
Quarterly, okay.
quarterly.
What other towns are in interlocal?
So going down Misty's sheet of questions as to what towns, or I guess who makes up the groups. There are 2 interlocals. One is the Greater Bridgeport Regional Solid Waste Interlocal Committee. The other one is the Greater Bridgeport Regional Recycling Interlocal Committee, or commission. For the solid waste, that includes Bethany, Bridgeport, Easton, Fairfield, Milford, Monroe, Southbury, Stratford, Trumbull, West Haven, Westport, and Woodbridge. When you go to the recycling, it is Bridgeport, East Haven, Easton, Fairfield, Milford, Monroe, Southbury, Orange, Stratford, Trumbull, Westport, and Woodbridge. Now, if you compare the 2 together, basically on solid waste, Bethany and West Haven are on solid waste but are not on the recycling, and East Haven and Orange are on the recycling but not on the solid waste. So we've got 12 towns in each.
I hate to bother you, but can you send that to us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much. I can't write fast enough.
It sure sounds like Greater Bridgeport, though. It's
Greater
pretty much.
Bridgeport region.
Well, greater.
Well, that, yeah.
Greater.
But it doesn't go much up. It doesn't go much up north. Woodbridge is the furthest one out.
The farthest north it goes up is to Southbury, and the only reason that is because I used to work for Southbury, and when I left Bridgeport, I made sure that Southbury got into the group because it was such a good deal.
Yeah.
So they're in both of them.
Cool.
Okay.
Enviro contract
This is 24 also.
is up in 24 also.
Mm.
So we'll evaluate what happens with that one.
Are there any, I mean, have you been looking at different options besides Enviro?
It may go out to bid,
Oh.
and it may go out in different hybrids. It may go out where, I mean, there's several ways to do it. To bid the whole thing just like Enviro. It could be that, there are, I think, extensions with Enviro, but, it could be that we go up for bid for the whole thing to operate and to haul and dispose of certain items. It could be that we go and operate it internally and put out the hauling.
Mm-hmm.
Do we
To a
collect
third party.
any kind of performance?
Hey, John.
Help make that decision? Sorry, Hugh, I was asking what kinds of metrics we capture so to guide the decision-making process in terms of what we decide to put out to bid and what we would keep under the Enviro contract.
It's a cost analysis that needs to be done
Okay.
on the entire operation.
But those,
Hey, John, has anybody done I was just going to ask you, has anybody done a cost analysis of bringing some of that operation in-house?
That's one of my tasks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on, Denali.
Well, I mean, then we were wondering
Okay,
about.
can I just ask, is there a change here? Because I've had this from the past in these, I just want to make it.
You have, Southbury's not on there. Which
Okay.
one is that? That's the
This is from
recycling.
about 6 years ago.
Yeah, recycling, so,
It's Southbury's new? Because I don't remember them.
yeah, like I said,
Thank
I
you.
put them on about 3-4 years.
The Trumbull is on, obviously.
Yeah.
That was new, okay.
The Trumbull joined it too.
So they'll go in as a consortium kind of altogether
Yep.
when you make your bid.
Yes,
Okay. Greater
trying to
Bridgeport.
keep everybody together.
Good.
And give us
So there's
a clear-
ongoing communication with these other towns?
Yes.
Okay.
John, have we seen any impact in Fairfield with respect to the closing of Hartford?
Well, that's where you may have, the current or the contract with Wheelabrator increasing their costs more than what the exact current contract is, which is strictly just based on the CPI.
CPI.
The consumer price.
Consumer price.
That's coming out next week.
Does Wheelabrator have any extra capacity are they taking any more of these towns in the Hartford area?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Wheelabrator is like a 750,000 ton, capacity per year.
Yep.
These towns come in just under 200,000.
Oh, wow.
All of them?
Oh,
So,
wow.
including Hartford?
No,
Oh.
towns that are in our interlocal.
Oh,
Okay.
These
we're
are the group.
And they can take 750,
Correct.
so they're happy to have this.
Well,
No,
HRRA
they'd
goes.
rather have more.
HRRA
Oh.
goes, I'm not sure how much they deliver. They have
Yeah.
their own internal contracts with, city carding and
Okay,
their
now,
own.
okay.
So there's, but that's what their plant is. And that's,
Yeah.
so we're what, about 25%,
Yeah.
a little bit more?
Has.
About
the-
a third. We're about a third.
Has the interlocal ever discussed HRRA and working with
Yes.
them? Is that on the table, do you know?
Well, we discussed it with them. HRRA has a contract with, who's it, All American, not All American, Oakridge, is it All American?
Probably the city,
Who, it used to be Winters,
Oak Ridge.
Soakridge.
Yeah, they go to Oak Ridge.
Yeah. Yeah, so they have a contract with them who then takes it, so they take theirs to, Danbury and then, unless they're using the transfer station, Newtown, and then bring it down. But their contract is with the hauler, not with Wheelabrator.
Interesting. So then the hauler is the one that has the contract with Wheelabrator?
Correct.
And they can have separate haulers, just,
Yeah.
oh, they can do anything they want, basically, right?
So it's commercial.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving along, Misty asked about Denali. Denali's, contract ended in, December 31st. We renewed it for a 5-year term. It's the same rate. However, they are putting in a new scale, which would have been the town's responsibility.
Oh, so that's an upcoming cost?
Not for the town, that's, instead of putting an increase on the amounts that they pay the town, they're paying for the, scale, a new scale there.
Huh.
Leaf collection is, will be going out for a bid, RFP again, last I heard from purchasing.
And what do we pay for leaf collection?
About $156,000.
And do you think that's reasonable?
I guess that's what it's been for past several years.
That goes up to the farm, right?
It gets dropped off at,
For composting?
at the Denali spot, and then it gets hauled up in trailers up to Easton's farm.
Oh, Easton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last question that she asked was, do people realize Christmas trees are not getting picked up?
Well, I mean, I'm only saying that because I see them everywhere.
Oh, you did? I didn't see.
Yeah.
The residents
There's
make their own arrangements with their haulers. Some haulers offer that as a part of their service, so their haulers charge.
Around our neighborhood, they think they're getting picked up.
You should compost.
Well, I know, I need to get on next door.
Or the residents, could bring it to Denali.
Yeah,
Makes a good mulch.
but we used to recycle them years ago.
They burn pretty good too.
Yeah, one big bonfire.
Watch it.
Take the branches off, cut the branches off, make posts, and I use them. Make posts, they're really good.
Drop
Really
them
good.
here.
No, I have them for 10 years already. I like that.
And that concluded
All right.
Misty's questions.
Thank you, John. We really appreciate it.
All right, I think that's.
Misty, would you send those questions to the rest of the commissioners too?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yep. with the answer.
Okay, new business. Misty, you want to talk about your letter?
Right. Well, we've talked about this a number of times, and last time we had a meeting, we tabled the discussion to today, and we decided to decide at this meeting whether or not to move forward on having a committee that studies a plan for solid waste and recycling. And this is something it's actually in the code, town code, our commission to address. So that's why I sent you that town code.
Yeah, no, we know that. It's been in the charter for a long time.
Right.
John, you developed a solid waste plan for the town, right?
John?
Did I? No.
Well, don't you remember
I mean, the department does.
Mike Zambruski gave us a plan, but we all decided that was not a plan. It was more addressing who does what. Do you remember that? It was a one sheet.
This is a few years ago, before my time, right?
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was.
But it wasn't a plan for recycling. What we need to address is
Misty, what did we have? What kind of a plan did we have the last time you were on the commission? Were you ever part of that?
Well, I've got to dig in my old books, but
yeah.
What Mike Zambruski gave us was a description for who's doing what at the transfer station. It wasn't a plan on talking about how we were going to achieve a goal of 60% diversion of materials for disposal by 2024, which is what the state wants us to do. So there was no addressing any of that. It was just, Enviro's going to do this, and we have these contracts for haulers. It was a description of how the transfer station works. So our thought was that we should really look at having a committee on our commission to address the long-term, or short-term and long-term goals for solid waste and recycling, and it seems very appropriate right now as we're renegotiating all these contracts to do just that.
Well, how would that divert? I mean, how would that be different from what the budget would call for and the expenditures would call for?
Well, that's the reason why I asked about KPIs, because it's money, and it's also based on what's happening.
Exactly.
Right? So that's why I was curious, because I think it goes it is the money, but it's also the money spent to achieve the goals that are laid out in the state's requirements.
Sorry, I lost you.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, there's some constraints. I mean, we can have these really good goals. I mean, nobody wants a toxic environment and all of it.
Well, I think we need to look at where we're moving forward.
Yeah.
We have made some moves, as small as they may be. Our glass recycling.
Yeah, I think that was good.
I mean, that pilot project is a great start, but I think we need to look at the fact that, for a town our size, we're really not collecting the amount of glass be appropriate for our population. I mean, we should, we need to evaluate these things and say, well, this is our goal, this is where we're at.
Well, for example, if we're collecting 40 tons of glass now, maybe we can move that. We'd like to bring that.
Well, yeah, and how are we going to do that?
How do you do that?
How are you going to do that? So it just helps to clarify some issues.
Right.
We have a food scrap.
Well, what I would like to do is I'd like to take a look at the annual plan that John Marcella has put together for the department and compare that to some of the other towns and see how this plan compares, and also what we might be missing. I don't think that we need to set up a committee to do that. I think the whole commission could do that. But I think I agree with you that we should get on the stick on it And before we just go, scatterbrain and start, going 10 ways to the wind, that we ought to talk to John and see what his annual proposals are, which of course we've been enacting, as you people all know, right? We've been implementing them. The glass recycling, the cardboard, the fabrics, the food waste, and then from there, once we have some data gathered together, then we can decide the best next steps.
Well, we're in discussion now, right? I mean, it seems to me that a committee, which would not expected to do something immediately, a committee would be able to keep in touch with, keep up to date with what is going on with the state, changes that are going with the state changes with other towns, working with John, of course, working with the department, of course. But I think I don't think we're going to make much progress by just talking about this thing once a month. And I think that's the idea. We want to make sure
we want to have a committee so that it's focused on this idea. However, if we as a commission said we were committed to it, and we said
who's speaking?
This is Kirsten.
It's Kirsten.
Okay.
Sorry. So if we had a standing agenda item on our meeting agenda every month where we said, okay, this month we're going to look at what the plan has said in the past. This month we're going to have one of us refresh our memories on what the state plan is, and we pick some towns that we feel are similar, right? So we could do it as a commission. We just have to be committed to having it as a standing agenda item, and every month we say, okay, this is the topic we're going to tackle together to review, to get to the next step, right? So I mean, I don't care if it's I think it needs to be done. I just don't care if it's a commission.
Well, I think any commission member can bring up a proposal or ideas as new business, and then we discuss it.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to have a separate meeting outside of the commission, you can do your own. Anybody can do research. I mean, that's fine. Present ideas.
That's fine.
But that's why we're here. I mean, the commission is here to do that. I mean, why would we want to divide ourselves more and more?
I don't think we're trying to divide it. I think we're just trying to
make it an efficient process. But I think we're all committed to it, and we should be, because it's part of our charge.
But there are limitations in which members of this commission can meet by themselves beyond.
We know that.
Beyond
we know that.
Yeah, and that's the point.
If I may, I like
because then we'll be out of touch. We won't know what's going on. And
if I may, I like the idea of the standing agenda item. Each month, along with new business or a separate item, the committee report on progress. Now, maybe a month goes by. Well, nothing new. Fine, we're done. But if we find something specific, or if the committee finds something that's specific to report on,
I don't think anybody.
Then I think it's important that's the time to talk about it.
That's good.
Hey guys,
gentlemen,
ladies, can I ask a question? I like the ideas that are being floated. I don't like the idea of setting up a standing committee. We had a committee, and some things didn't go right with it because we started going all different ways to the wind. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a committee. I like what Kristen says that it might be a good idea to make it a standing item on our agenda so that we can address issues. But I also feel strongly that we have a department that is managed by very capable and experienced people that have loads of insight and experience in this. I would like to speak to them and see what their plans are, and B, how we can help them, because we're all on the same side. So the idea of the plan, and I understand the state. I understand the state charter. I read it and I understand it. But the idea of the plan is exactly what we are trying to already implement in Fairfield. So I don't think that we need to be working across roads of anybody that's in the employee doing it full time, but we're here to help guide and direct, not actually tell them what to do. So I just want to make sure that we cover all the bases. I'm not against per se the establishment, but I don't think it's the right time. I think we need some information I would like to get some information from neighboring towns as to what their plans have been. I'd like to get some information from John, both Johns, as to what the plans have been and how we can help, because that's really our function is to help the town.
I'm all for all the things that you're saying. I think what happens in this kind of group situation is that we're gonna walk out the door and we'll show up next month. And we won't really, we won't really have a focus for that
Which is why I'm suggesting we would have, if we don't, because the committee, like I said, I don't care if it's committee or commission, but I do think the commissioners should all be invested in this for the reasons we've all discussed, right? It's because it's the town plan, and we have a department that we're here to help advise. And we should know what that plan says so that we can help educate people too when we're out in the community. So if we as a commission decide tonight that we're going to have a standing agenda item where we agree tonight, next month we're going to have all reviewed the plan, and we're going to come with our comments and questions for John. At the conclusion of that meeting, we're going to decide, based on the comments and questions we had, what the priorities are based on what, as a collective, we've decided either seems off base or needs more attention, or that John says they could use some help with or some research on, or we all decide we want to compare ourselves to Westport. So we start to collect the data, we start to understand what the plan itself says, and then it's a commitment, and each meeting we move to the next item.
Okay.
Because that's what a committee would do anyway.
Right, of course. Now, John, this plan that you're talking about.
What's that?
Plan for what?
Where is this plan?
It's always, do we have a plan?
No, we don't have a plan. That's the whole thing.
Right, okay, so somebody thinks we have a plan. So do we have a plan, or do we?
I don't think we have a plan. That's why we're talking about this.
Let's find out. We have to talk to John Basilio. So I think that we should agree to put this on the next agenda, and in the meantime, I'll talk to John Basilio and discuss the planning.
Not answer the question, what in fact do we have in terms of a plan?
Yes, that's an important question.
I have not seen what plan is being discussed.
So we don't have a solid waste and recycling plan?
We have an operational plan as to where things go and how they get distributed.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't have like a strategic plan or a policy plan?
But the operation plan is ongoing, it's happening, it's going on. Now, what is the motivating factor? Do we have a problem that we have to set up another plan because of this issue? That's the point. What are the problems? What problems do we have? That's where you start. Do we have too much? That's the problem, because this is an operation. We're not in the field, they're in the field.
No, I'm not.
We're like the generals here, and we're telling them.
What I'm trying to do is sort of bring the two.
But I want to know, what motivates us is there a problem, and can we fix it? Can we make it better?
Right.
And then
Exactly. And so the way to do that is to understand what the elements of the operational plan
But
our biggest issue right now is contamination.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we are, and that's what I'm changing
And that's a
down
serious
there.
problem, yeah.
Because half the stuff that goes into recycling is getting either landfilled or back down to the burn plant.
Okay, that's where we start.
Right.
Where I'm starting as a plan, and by doing that, it's reconfiguring the traffic pattern down at the transfer station to get better eyes on what is going on, so that we can have a little better enforcement and control. And that is what's going on in the process now.
Yeah, you guys have in the first half hour have already talked about the execution of the plan that they put in place. The concrete pads for the different receptacles.
We have an operational issue. Yeah, we have a set of operational objectives. That's not a
No, I'm talking about the same plan. The concrete plazas, for example, traffic patterns.
Whose hand is raised requesting?
Well, let's finish our meeting first, then we'll go to that public, that's the end.
Well, the public, that's part of the meeting. The public has a right.
No, that comes after, it's part of the rules we come after. Let's finish this up.
It seems like they're just.
I don't think that's the case. The public has a right to speak in these meetings, right? At a certain time.
When can they come? Anytime? I don't think so.
Well, Hugh, help me out here.
Hold
When
on,
is the
guys,
public?
hold on. Does somebody from the public want to speak?
Yes.
So,
Okay, I'm not there, so you have to help me. I don't see any hands raised. Who would like to speak?
I saw a hand raised. A hand is raised.
Yeah, raised.
That's why I was saying there's a hand raised, because you don't have the benefit of being
I'm
in the
gonna
room.
forward, I would like to, as the member of Sustainable Fairfield Task Force, forward to you guys a plan from another town in Connecticut that did.
Who is this?
Town should be doing,
Who?
and I need to confirm, I can't remember which town it is.
Identify yourself.
They have to
This
drive.
is Becky Bunnell, member of the Sustainable Fairfield Task Force. I saw a really interesting, good plan from another town in Connecticut, and I can't remember, Middlebury, or it was some of them slightly north of us, but it was a good plan, and what they had, and what I think this commission is talking about, is they had clear objectives. One of theirs was contamination. They measured how much contamination they had today. They put goals in, by 2 years out, I want the contamination to go from 50% down to 30%, in 4 years, I want it to go to 20%, whatever. So they had very concrete goals. The commission and the group didn't tell the department how to do their job. They said, here are our they worked with the department, by the way, to agree on the goals, and said, here are our goals, now let's talk about how we're going to achieve those. And they had plans like educating consumers, working with haulers, oops stickers, a lot of what actually John's already putting in place, but they had even more stuff. So that's the kind of
Was this
thing
written down? Was this ephemeral, short-lived, spoken about, or just was it written down?
It's written down as a plan.
Okay, can you send that?
Yes, that's what I just told you, I'm going to send you that plan.
No, I
Guys.
don't know how you're gonna send it.
Hello?
So their plan had multiple
Hello?
objectives.
You don't know
Hello.
what town.
Hello?
I'm
Excuse me.
sitting here today, don't have my computer, I can't tell you, but I will go back and find it.
We'll see the plan. We'll see the plan.
You will get that plan.
Count on it.
They had other objectives
Okay.
too. One of their objectives was they identified the fact that tipping fees are gonna be going up dramatically over the
Yep.
next 5-year period. And they said, how can we reduce the amount of waste so that hauler fees will not go up for our
Single stream.
residents? So that was another objective. So they had probably multiple objectives. And that's just one plan that I happened to find online. I'm sure other towns
Yeah,
have
and-
plans, but the objective of a plan is to say, what is it we want 3-5 years out? What are our issues? What do we want to change? And then work with the department to figure out what kinds of things do we have to do to get there. And I think, again, I compliment John and what he's done so far. He's done a great job, but you guys, as a commission, are the ones that need to develop the plan.
Yes.
It's in the town code.
Absolutely.
You need to develop what the objectives are with John, because if you can't put,
Right.
Yeah,
personally,
we have to be realistic in
yeah,
terms of
personally,
what
the
can be
state
done.
goals, I
Yeah.
think, are a little
Yeah.
lofty. I don't think they're realistic, so that probably wouldn't go on. But something might
They-
go on.
they-
The state goals could be a goal for us, so let's get
That could
closer
be
to it.
maybe a
Let's do
long-term.
better than we're doing.
If I had a plan, we could work toward
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
The commission needs to think,
Yeah.
what are your
Guys,
objectives?
one at a time, please. I don't know how Joe could be recording this with everybody talking at once. I really don't know. Please, one at a time. I agree with that speaker. Which is what I said initially. I would like to see some plans that are actually out there. So if she could send us a copy of that, and I'm sure other people have plans. But I have to say this, in hindsight, is that our directors and our department head has actually been executing this kind of a plan. I can't tell you that it's in black and white, but they've actually been executing this kind of a plan, because what they're trying to do, as we talked about earlier, is change that big economy from 4.9 million to 3.1 million in department expenses to revenue, and reduce that, and reduce the amount of material going to landfills and the amount of material being wasted. So, I mean, I'm not speaking for the department, but I'm sure they're acting according to a plan. Whether it's formalized or not, I don't know. But I would like to speak to them, and I'd like to get a couple of copies of different department plans and see if we can dovetail them rather than recreating a wheel. I don't think we're the first ones on the block. I think other people have done this, and I don't want to.
My hand's raised, Hughes. My hand's raised when you're done.
Go ahead.
John, what
Go
do you
ahead.
think?
I know what
I'm sorry?
I know, but, I mean,
That's, I agree, don't reinvent the wheel, people were doing something.
Oh, of
If
course.
something's working, that's great.
Well, my perspective is, having been here for a couple of years now, we've made a lot of progress, and your department has done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I think part of what our commission has done, we've gotten the more of education with Sustainable Fairfield's help, and we've gotten the glass, and we've got the food, and we're making progress, but yeah, there's a lot more that needs to be done. The overall problem is we don't recycle nearly enough, and here or anywhere else in the state, and I guess any help we can get to improve that, I'm in favor.
When I first started here 8 years ago, there was a market for paper and a market for all these items, and we were doing pretty good in terms of the net cost to the town. We're in a problem. We have a problem now because nobody wants that stuff, so it's got to go into a single stream. So our plan is, how do we remove some of that, like we're doing with glass, which is really good, 40 tons, which is removing it from the single stream. So anything that we can remove, but nobody's going to buy it. So there is no money. It's going to be cost determinant. There's a cost determination in terms of what we can do. I'd love to get rid of all of it. I don't, so we have to be realistic. And the key thing is toxicity. That's really key. Health, human health. That's what is really involved about recycling, anything else, right? Human health. Yeah. Okay.
I know Becky was, I agree with what Joe's saying, and I also want to reinforce that because of the fact that there are changes in the market and there are changes in what can happen, that's why we as a commission, I believe, are charged in our code with having a plan that we develop and we revisit from time to time, because these things are...
It's more difficult now.
Right,
yeah.
It is more difficult, and one of the things that I think would be beneficial for Fairfield and for other towns, if we know what they're doing, is that, there's a lot of discussion at the state level about, waste to energy recovery, is it better for our emissions to be shipping this stuff to Ohio, and I'm sure the Ohioans don't want our garbage, versus having some other facilities in state, what does that look like? And with our ability to say, here's our plan, and we can't achieve it because you, policymakers at the state level, are not giving us the tools to get there, would, I think, be something that would help push that legislative fix along. I was just at a thing a couple weeks ago with the people, our elected officials, who are tasked with figuring this problem out, and they are nowhere.
Right.
And it's terrifying because we've been discussing this for, not just in the recent time with the recycling issues, but forever. So anyway, I feel very strongly that we should be working collaboratively with John to do our response, to fulfill our responsibility of having the plan, updating the plan, and, to Joe's point, making sure that we are able to pivot to whatever the market and environmental considerations are.
And our plan too should also parallel to some degree the interlocal agreement with those shares.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have to sort of feed into us and feed back. And
Here's what I propose. I would like to propose this, that we put down for the next meeting a discussion of our plan. And in the meantime, I have a conversation with John Marsilio and some of the other local towns and try to gather some of these plans. You will send us the copy of the plan, I guess you said, is from upstate Connecticut, Manchester, whatever it was, so we can see it. And then we can discuss it with more intelligence. I'm not against, obviously, we all have the same objective. The concern I have is that we do it the most efficient and we don't get in the way, because the department has made great strides in the way that it's been managed in the last year and a half, 2 years, and it's made good moves forward. I want to keep that progress going, and we want to be a cooperative help to them.
Yep, I think we all have the same objective.
Oh, yeah. We have different personalities with that. Can't change that. That's the beauty of individuality.
That's why we'll call it commission.
Commission.
Okay, so I'm going to put it down for old business on the next meeting agenda.
Becky wants to speak.
And in the meantime, Becky, can you send that to us?
If you want to say,
You already said that, yeah. Go ahead, Becky.
Member of the public, Becky.
Becky wants to speak.
I have another new business item if we're done with the plan discussion.
We're done.
Go ahead.
So it's a question actually more for John, but it's also for the commission. DEEP has a grant available, to look at authorities like an HRRA. We have kind of a quasi version of a regional waste authority in that we have two separate interlocals that have slightly different towns in them. A lot of them are overlapping, but they're slightly different. But a regional waste authority does more than just negotiate fees, which is what our interlocals do. They actually develop plans, and they do other things, and they look forward thinking, like the HRRA is putting in an aerobic static pile to do their food waste locally so that they can completely cut their costs down and actually make money on it. So things like that are things that these regional waste authorities can do. It seems like we've got the start of that in our interlocal, and I guess my question for John is there a benefit in moving to a regional waste authority structure versus two separate interlocals? And if so, there's 1.5 million. For someone to help us evaluate that.
John, what do you think?
I would say changing the way it operates right now, you're involving 14 different towns, which 14 different, chief elected officials, 14 different charters. It took them a long time just to get the interlocal set up.
Yeah, that was a problem.
So something of that task that you're asking, I would suspect would take a big effort.
And I guess my question is, we don't need it to be done tomorrow or even 2 years out, but if that's something that would longer-term benefit to us, that's the kind of thing that would be in a plan. That there would be,
Well, it could be proposed, you could propose
there would be a benefit to our town and the 14 towns if we functioned as a regional waste authority versus as two separate interlocals. HRA is 14 towns.
Yeah.
They function very effectively.
See, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to put a big but, because the Housatonic Valley is unique in that they have a lot of similar issues, whether it's brownfield redevelopment, waste management, economic development, housing, because they're so similar. And we're in this mishmash of towns that, go for everything from very dense areas and very wealthy people to, people with not a lot of money and bucolic.
To a city.
That. It's just such a mishmash. And so I think that if we were going to be successful in having even to do the RFP, we would really have to have some sort of coalition of our interlocal folks. And I think as soon as we start to have that conversation, you're going to have the Woodbridges and the Southberries get together because they're similar, and everybody's going to start to sort of. So I don't mean to say it can't be done, but I acknowledge that Housatonic Valley you've got a lot of municipalities with very similar issues, and we're sort of lumped in with this. Our one similar issue is that we all have waste and we want to save money. So that's the only challenge I see to try and figure it out.
I agree with you. I'm not sure that, maybe Bridgeport won't end up being part of it.
Yeah.
Because we could be with Trumbull and Woodbridge, and there's certainly enough East Haven and West Haven, there's enough towns that are similar enough that you might not have. Again, long term, would it make sense to start this conversation with a paid facilitator through this grant to work with each of the towns?
Yeah.
To me, that's part of doing a plan, and it may go nowhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cost us anything if we get the grant.
It's worth.
Is it worth exploring? Because there is grant money out there.
The 1.5 million would be
state?
for the to pay the facilitator to.
Well, we wouldn't get the whole 1.5.
Well,
This is all
it
it's
goes
gonna
to the
be.
group.
Oh, okay.
That's DEP grant?
DEP has
Just
a
the
grant
state,
program.
that's the state.
It's a state program. We'd have to apply for it by March 31st.
Yeah,
And what are the details, what are the specifications of that?
It's all online.
It's all online.
It is detailed description of the proposed budget, timeline for implementation, municipalities identifying the proposals that are compliant.
It's not gonna happen by March.
Oh, no. You just have to apply for the money.
You would say,
we wanna
Well,
explore it.
Except that you have to have enough details for them to know that you're going to be, like I said, demonstrate support from key stakeholders. Like, that's where I get into we would have to already have a coalition of our interlocal folks.
Well, we basically would go
identified.
to the interlocals and say, is this worth exploring if we got this grant? And the interlocals would probably say, let's explore it, we're not committing to anything, we've got our.
What do you think, John?
What is that gonna do that the interlocal's not doing?
I look at how HRA functions, and I actually agree with Kirsten that they happen to be, a lot of like towns, fairly smallish towns. I don't think, I think mostly 40,000 is, I think, one of their largest.
Yeah.
They go from 28,000 or 30,000 to probably 45,000. We're 62 already, but, you know.
And we go from 20 to about 160.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean.
Yeah.
But I think what they do is they're able to.
Bridgeport's
do-
160?
About 150, probably.
They're able to go beyond what our interlocals can do. Our interlocals are very good at negotiating a contract with one specific entity. We've got our interlocal for Wheelabrator, we've got our interlocal for our recycling.
Mhm.
What we're not doing is looking at everything else about waste and recycling, and that's what these regional authorities do. So it takes all the benefits of the interlocals, and it hopefully opens up new benefits for all of the towns that are part of it.
Yeah, the biggest benefit would, again, go back to sort of that political push to get legislative changes to allow for developing alternative ways to address waste. That's the biggest.
And they're very focused, like Jenny Eaton-Jones, for example, who runs HRA, does a lot with the legislature. She pushes for bills, and she pushes for this, and trying to get things through. And that's powerful. We're not doing that.
No, we're not. And again, we know it doesn't work on a regional basis
But
very well for anything.
But if we had more regional things all counting, and then we need you to change.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, let's go.
Okay, listen, I think we come,
Well, I'm
Hello?
wondering if,
Go ahead.
I think we've come to a consensus that we don't have enough information, that I'm going to do some review and research with John Marcello and some of the other towns. I like a lot of the ideas. We're going to put it on the agenda for next month, and we're going to discuss this plan and then move forward. And I have no problem with putting it on the agenda as an ongoing agenda item. I agree with that, because we have discussed this before, and I was there when Mr. Mike presented a piece of paper that he said was a plan, and it was far less than one. But then I take everything that he said with a grain of salt, because he wasn't really in charge of the whole operation. So I don't even know if that's really what he was presenting us with. So my recommendation is we put it on for the agenda for next month. I do some research. We get some more data. Becky's going to send that out. I'm going to see what other plans we can have, and we move on from there. Everybody agree?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's the last item. I take a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Nobody favors.
I'm not in favor, because I still think this is an open issue with this opportunity that it presents itself to look at long-term planning, if there is an opportunity to move forward, to look at this HRRA opportunity to work with, different towns. I mean,
I don't have anything in front of me. I haven't seen anything about it. I have nothing in front of me.
The problem is, all these things for future discussions is tough, because it's we've got to get the first round of applications in by March 31st.
No, we're not doing anything rushed. We're not doing anything without knowing what we're doing. Just because somebody put a date of March 7th or March 31st, if it's appropriate, let's do the research, give you the information, and at our March meeting, we can certainly make an application by March 31st if it's appropriate. But I have nothing before me. We're not going to make a decision to do something based on there's $1.5 million hanging there.
Okay, I think we're all set. We're all set.
Yeah, Joe made a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I don't think we can do anything right now. I think it's good. All these things should be explored, but.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
You can send that to Hugh and us.